Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
Welcome back to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. This is Thursday, July 3rd. This is episode 209. Matthew Roy.
Matthew P. Roy.
Matthew T, but close. Okay. Sounds the same. Happy 4th of July to everybody out there. Hopefully everyone's on the grill listening to the soothing sounds of our voice. And as an annual reminder, England blew a 13-colony lead. So
that's right. And the fight's not over at England.
Yeah, we'll get you.
Right. We're coming for you, Bank of England.
Anyway, Chuck, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We were just talking about your love of sub sandwiches. Jersey Mike's.
Free plug for Jersey Mike's.
Free plug, yes. Every time I see you go get food, though, it's Jimmy John's, it's Jersey Mike's, it's Zito's over here by
It's
the
the great American lunch, is it not?
Well, I mean, if you're Scott Van Pelt, then you don't believe that a sandwich is a meal, which I think I completely disagree with.
Yeah, and as you get older, you realize, too, like, if you get, like, the mini from Jersey Mike's, that's more than a meal, even though I know
for
a
you.
big guy like you, you got to get probably three extra
I had a
larges.
large Zito's yesterday, and I was great. Or the other day, and I was great.
Nice.
But anyway, so subscribe to the YouTube channel, Fox to Say News 4. Download, rate, review the podcast version, wherever you get your podcasts. Going to talk a little bit Spurs free agency. The Spurs have made one singular move so far in free agency. They signed Luke Kornet to a 4-year, $41 million deal. So good move, bad move. Does it move the needle at all? We'll talk about that. Plus, are they done making moves? They still have 2 roster spots open. They still have about $23 million in room below the first apron to play with. So we'll talk about that. Plus the Giannis of it all. Giannis Antetokounmpo seemingly not pleased with the moves that the Bucks have made so far in free agency, releasing Damian Lillard after his Achilles tear, signing Miles Turner for basically that same contract spot, so spending $50 million a year for the next 4 years essentially on those 2 players, even though one of them is not going to be on their team. So if Giannis goes on the move and asks out of Milwaukee, do we want the Spurs to throw their hats in that ring? Are they saving their assets for something like that? So we'll talk about that. Plus, where do the Spurs currently rank in terms of the Western Conference after the Luke Kornet move with Dallas and Houston? I would say winning free agency so far. Houston is 10 deep and potentially going to be 11, 12 deep by the time the season starts. Plus, rookie or summer league is coming up starting this weekend. So the NBA train continues to move on us. So Dylan Harper not going to play, though. Everyone, RELAX, relax on that one. But we'll talk about that a little bit as well. So let's start with free agency. Luke Kornet.
Just making sure you got it spelled right.
I never spell it wrong because of Aaron Rodgers now.
Okay.
He helped me out a long time. A few years ago. RELAX. Relax.
How about calling a shot on that one, too? Didn't they win like 7 or 8 in a row after that, too?
Yeah, I mean, he was right. He was definitely right. But Luke Kornet is now a San Antonio Spur, or will be on the 6th when they officially sign the contract. They have their backup center now, Chuck. He is a pretty limited sample size for Luke Kornet. He's only made $14.2 million in his career before this $41 million contract, so a hell of a pay raise for the young man. But I say young man, he's actually older than I am. But what do you think of the move when you saw it on Monday?
I didn't really know what to think of it right away because I was thinking, okay, is this the start of something big? But, you know, based on what I saw on the internet, this is the greatest big man ever that Wemby will have ever played with. I'm like, oh, wait, hold on a second. I better look into this.
Well, you look at the people he's played with. It's not one really great. So.
Well, I mean, again, you know, like it's fascinating, I think, with Luke Kornet because I think he was mostly a shooter early on in like his college career.
Early in his NBA career, he actually did attempt threes more often. Last year and the year
didn't attempt a single one last year.
Yeah, last year and the year before, the Celtics basically took that out of his arsenal and said, we want you as a strict backup big man, defensive big man, catching lobs, kind of doing those sorts of things, and took the 3-point game completely out of his arsenal. So
yeah, so you know, to your point, you know, he's going to be around the rim a lot, which is good because I think the one thing he's going to bring is rebounds, and that was obviously a huge deficiency for the Spurs last year. But again, I said this on the night that they signed him. I mean, Spurs fans, let's not lose our minds over this. I mean, this is a guy that's going to maybe, hopefully, play between 15 and 20 minutes a night, a rotational guy, give you some bruiser minutes, and you know, pretty cool that at this stage of Luke Kornet's career, I think obviously based on what the Spurs paid him, there must have been other people on his jock, so to speak.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they wouldn't have paid him as much as the Spurs ended up paying him.
Rumors the Celtics wanted him back, especially after they let Kristaps Porzingis via the trade. So they're a little deficient now in the size department are the Celtics. As far as the Spurs go, I could see them trying to put that 3-point shot back into his arsenal because you need someone who's going to stretch the floor, especially when you have Wemby inside. So if they're going to play next to each other, you want Kornet to be able to shoot that outside shot. If he's strictly, and I don't know the vision for him yet, if he is strictly just only on the floor when Wemby's not on the floor, still a really, really good backup center to have when you don't have Wemby, because we saw the defense take a massive hit once Wemby got hurt and had that blood clot in his shoulder. They basically went from like 6th in defensive rating to like 27th in defensive rating. It was some crazy drop like that. So we saw their defense just take a massive, massive tumble. You need somebody who can step in and not be a sieve essentially on defense when you take Victor off the floor. Victor's going to miss a few games here and there. He's going to only play 32 to 36 minutes a game. You need somebody in those 12 to 16 minutes that can keep the game close and can have a similar kind of role on the defensive end, that defensive anchor. So in that aspect, I really, really like it. The advanced stats love Luke Kornet. All of the advanced stats that ESPN has favor him and put his efficiency rating a little bit higher than his actual efficiency rating. He didn't get a lot of run because they had Al Horford and they had Kristaps Porzingis in Boston. So I would like to see what he is with a larger role at this point.
Yeah, a friend of mine put it like this, shout out Rick Romo, that, maybe they're going to ask him to be kind of like the Hartenstein of OKC. I don't think he's as athletic as Hartenstein, but, again, we'll see. I just, again, I try not to let the internet dictate the way you go on certain things, but the initial response on this was, holy cow, we are so going to be hoisting trophies at the end of the year.
Yeah, no, take a chill pill on that one.
Yes.
There's no trophies being hoisted at the end of the year. We don't know yet. But.
Nice piece, nice veteran piece, and I'm sure he's going to check a lot of boxes, although he's not going to check all the boxes.
But what did we say all summer long so far and all year long? They need somebody big. They need size. They need somebody to take a little bit of heat off Wemby. They can play next to each other. They can play in place of one another. Not saying don't misconstrue what I'm saying. Luke Kornet is not Victor Wembanyama, obviously. But he's a good backup center, and he's someone who can come in, give you 6 good fouls a game. He can get some rebounds for you. He can block a lot of shots. We saw exactly what he could be in that series against Miami. It wasn't Miami. Sorry. In that
even against the Spurs.
The playoff
he
series.
moves the ball well. I mean, he's a think, get your teammates the ball first kind of guy, So,
yeah, I mean, he did well in a larger role this season than he had in the past. But this is Zach Lowe from the Zach Lowe Show, formerly of the Low Post podcast on ESPN. He's now with The Ringer, said some really interesting things, and he loved the signing about Luke Kornet on the 4-year deal. So let's listen to that real quick.
I think this is a freaking awesome signing for the Spurs. Luke Kornet is good.
Yes.
Is he good enough to play 25 minutes for your favorite basketball team in real high-stakes games? Probably not. Is he good enough to play 15 minutes behind Victor Wembanyama doing Luke Kornet things? Abso-freaking-lutely. Can you play him next to Victor Wembanyama a little bit here and there? Absolutely. He's just, he's big, he's gawky, he's goofy, he does funny gestures when he makes free throws, he's a colorful personality. The dude is a good basketball player. He's a very good rim protector. He can finish lobs. The shot that I really would like to see him develop, like a little 6-foot, 8-foot floater. He doesn't quite have that in his arsenal yet. But he's just, he can switch in a pinch and keep some guards in front of him by being big like this. I think this is a meaningful signing for the Spurs. I think this really, he's a fit. And I just I like the summer they've had overall.
Yeah, and to his point, I like the signing, and it's a good fit for the team. It's exactly kind of what they needed on this roster. They weren't going to go out and sign a Miles Turner. They just don't have that need. They don't need a center to play 30, 35 minutes. You have Victor Wembanyama.
Well, yeah, especially not at the Miles Turner price.
Exactly. I mean, what he signed 4-year 107, so that's 26
him.
26 a year,
player.
26-7 a year. So but they didn't need that. They needed Luke Kornet, who is going to give them 15 to 20 minutes a game, most likely. Can start in a pinch. I mean, we've seen the versatility aspect of this is something that they really want to have. Okay, we're playing this team tonight. We want this person to start. We were playing this team tonight. We want more minutes from this person. That's something that the mix and match aspect is something that the Spurs have done a really good job of bringing onto their team because of how many guys have the defensive versatility now. So if we saw again in OKC in the finals, they started Hartenstein all year long, and then Cason Wallace is in because of the different pieces that they have and able to match up with. So I like that now, even if you do start Luke Kornet for a couple of games here and there, he's still not going to be a 30-minute a game guy, but you have that versatility now with him.
Well said.
They still have some needs, though.
Yes, they do.
They basically have 2 open roster spots on the big team. They probably still need a big guy, at least like a 14th man big guy, kind of a Charles Bassey kind of guy, someone who can, you don't want to play Luke Kornet and Wemby in mop-up time. You know what I mean? You don't want to maybe if Luke gets in foul trouble, you need somebody else to come in. So I could still see them bringing back Charles Bassey or signing somebody of that nature to try and round out the rest of the roster. As far as the rest of the roster goes, they still have one glaring need besides the big man that I just talked about. The other glaring need is shooting. They still haven't signed any shooters. And it's starting to seem like they're going to rely on the guys that they have on the roster to kind of advance that shooting percentage and get better. And I don't know if that's the best plan.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is at this point, right? I mean, I don't know what they're going to do either. I mean, they still, as you said, they're well below the luxury tax threshold. So they could do what they want to, I think, presumably at this point. It's just going to be fascinating to see how they end up pairing this. And then, how does some of these other pieces fall around the league too? I mean, because, you really don't know what's going on behind the scenes in a lot of these places. But, to your point about Giannis, I mean, let's see how or if any of that heats up, because there's a part of me thinking, man, wouldn't it be cool if Giannis and Miles Turner could play together? I mean,
Yeah.
of a back or a front court.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe Harrison Ingram takes a step forward. We heard from him today up at Spurs practice facility, the Rocket La Cantera. We heard a little bit from him, and maybe he takes a step forward and can be the 14th, 15th man off the bench, the second rounder from last year out of North Carolina, Texas guy. That'll be interesting to see, but they have 2 open roster spots, and I still think that relying on Harrison Barnes, relying on Devin Vassell to make threes consistently, relying on Keldon Johnson to make threes as in a spot-up kind of manner, hoping that Jeremy Sohan isn't as inept from the three-point line or outside of the key as he has been in his career, relying on an inconsistent shooter in Dylan Harper, who wasn't a great shooter in college, or Stephen Castle, who was a decent shooter last year, but you need him to continue to advance. Relying on all of these mediocre shooters to get better, I just don't know if that's an A-plus plan. You know what I mean? When you have Wemby inside, who is going to be kicking it out to guys, and you're going to have open shots with the amount of playmakers that the Spurs have now in Steph and De'Aaron Fox and Dylan Harper and Devin Vassell and Wemby. You're going to have open shots. You need guys that can hit them. I just don't know if they're still on the roster.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on what the timeline looks like, right? If the roster stays, generally speaking, the way it is right now, I think you probably are in the mode of hoping that everybody just gets a little better percentage-wise. And then if you can say that most of the guys have made progress in that regard, I think it's going to result in a few more wins, regardless of what it ends up looking like at the end of the year.
Do you think they make one more small move, like to go get a shooter? Luke Kennard and the other shooters are off board, obviously. Luke Kennard was already signed, but someone that can come in and that's their specialty.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, there's a million zillion ways that they could still pair this thing at this point, and it's going to be a long summer too. You don't know if things are going to change last minute. I don't know what honestly they're going to do at this point, because it's fascinating that they're here at this point, and to your point, there's still roster spots open. I mean, that tells you that they're still weighing everything, right? They haven't decided or gone all in like this is our team going forward. We're going all in for the
Right.
fall. Here's our roster. Enjoy the summer, y'all. Get ready to work this summer, and then we'll see you when training camp begins. I mean, there's still a lot of moving parts, I think.
So much so, though, it seems like they're in wait and see mode, and it's just exhausting to be waiting and seeing for so long, I guess, because you want to see if Steph Castles. They said when he came out, he has a great 3-point shot. It just didn't result in a lot of makes. The mechanics were all there, though. So you want to see, okay, is that going to develop? Is Jeremy Sohan going to develop somewhere down the line as a good 15 to 18-foot jump shooter, someone who can actually be relied upon outside the paint? Do you want to see if Devin Vassell can get some more consistency? Keldon Johnson, I think, is who he is now. You want to see if Dylan Harper was just, with some minor adjustments, can become a better shooter. De'Aaron Fox is a decent shooter. Wemby's a decent shooter. You have all these guys that have all this potential, and then we're in such wait and see mode of let's see exactly who they are and what they are all together, but they're never all together. And so now everyone's like, okay, what is that? Where does that leave us?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you 100%, right? It is frustrating because you want a ready-made team that you could say, yes, this is the squad we're going to have, and yes, they're going to make a push for not only a play-in spot, but, hopefully even higher than that next year because of the drought that's gone on here the last 6 years or so. So I'm with you, but again, time is on the Spurs side. The more time goes on and the fact that we still have many months until training camp, you have no idea what's going to happen between now and then with disgruntled star over here, disgruntled star over here, agent putting pressure on this program because they're trying to get this player out to this program, and then another guy slips in the back because said agent's got another player they can slip in over here. I mean, we'll just wait and see how the chessboard develops, I guess, at this point.
Speaking of disgruntled stars, judging by his social media, Giannis Antetokounmpo not very happy. Not pleased at all by what the Bucks have done so far. So they signed Miles Turner and Gary Trent back. Gary Trent Jr., that is. Miles Turner was a 4-year, $107 million contract, which equates to about $27 million a year. Damian Lillard was then cut, not like traded or anything. So the contract still stays. Like, it's not like in the NFL where you cut somebody, only the guaranteed money stays. Everything's guaranteed. So the $113 million that he's going to get on his contract that he was owed is still going to him. Now he just gets to rehab and play golf. Like, that's all he has to do now is to get $113 million. Yeah. So, and that's going to be on their books for another 5 seasons. So they spread it out, $113 million, which is basically $23 million a year. So you're essentially paying Miles Turner $50 million a year.
Yes. That's exactly
that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. So I there's some people who've said that Brook Lopez is a poor man's Miles Turner, and you could have just paid Brook Lopez instead of Miles Turner and saved yourself some money. I see the point. He's younger, obviously, Miles is.
Yeah, and you essentially make the Pacers weaker, and they are the reigning Eastern Conference champs.
I guess, but
so it's addition and subtraction, but it's really tough too because obviously the Bucks are in a tough position, right? You've got a really good player that's not going to play next year, and then he has a player option, right, the year after that. So there was a chance, I'm sure they were getting vibes that he was going to, opt out and test free agency at that point. So rock in a hard place, but hey, nobody held a gun to their head when they made that deal. So.
But then you have the ESPN report that's saying that the Spurs are one of the teams that are biding their time until Giannis asks out. We don't actually. No one knows what the Spurs are going to do. No one knows what the Spurs want to do because they don't tell us anything.
Correct.
Which is fair because you want to keep your
hand tight.
You want to keep your hand close to the vest, your cards close to the vest. But if Giannis does ask out, which signs have indicated that he might, is that somebody who you'd be willing to give up a Steph or Dylan and 5 first-round picks for? Because that's going to be the starting price.
Yeah. Again, I think time will tell what the first-round pick situation looks like because this is a nuanced question, right? I think everybody wants him here. I know I would. There's no question about that. But would he want to come here? Or does he feel like he would like to go to a team that's more close to winning a title, say New York or name the market,
yeah, wherever, right? Yeah.
So, as you look at this over time, how valuable are those Spurs first-round picks that are going to possibly be late round picks.
Even
right?
to that point, how valuable is Atlanta's now since they've done so well in free
Correct.
agency?
Right. So we don't know at this point if the first round picks that they have are as valuable as they were last month or the month before. So again, the time thing might work against the Spurs in when it comes to Giannis, but I would give up just about anything on the Spurs roster to get Giannis here.
Except outside
But
of,
I'm
outside
not a
of Victor.
GM, and I'm again, this is just fanboy me.
Outside of Victor. You won't say outside of Victor. Come on. You're not going to give up Victor for Giannis.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't do it straight up?
Hell no.
I don't think I would either, just because of the rookie contract thing. But
31.
I
Giannis
would,
is 30
I
years
would
old.
strongly consider
Wemby's
it, bro.
21.
But Giannis checks way more boxes right now.
Right. Yeah. If you want to win this year, maybe you'd make that trade. But if you want to win for the next 15 years, you're never going to make that trade.
That's a tough one to answer, bro.
No, it's not.
That's
not a hard question.
You put me on the spot. I know. I'm probably
wasn't-
the
I
only
was
guy on planet Earth.
I
but,
was asking that as a rhetorical
I
question.
know you were. Somebody's got to play devil's advocate here, dude.
No, so it's the trade would end up being Steph Castle or Dylan Harper and 5 firsts, and then some other guys to make the money work.
Right.
It would have to be a Dylan, or it would have to be a Harrison or a KJ or somebody to make that money.
So
work.
I would, based on the Spurs roster, I don't know that there would be anybody necessarily that I would say this is a non-starter. I'll go that far. And if you want to say, okay, other than Victor, but I don't know how many of those first round picks I'd be willing to go. I don't know. 5 might be too much.
So what if I was to ask you this? Let's just say yes or no and give me your reasoning on this trade. Steph Castle or Dylan Harper. You can mix in whichever one you want. One of those two players. Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson and 5 first round picks.
I don't think I would do it for that much. Not with the 5 first round picks, to me is too much.
That would be, I think that's what they would be asking for.
Probably so.
And there's all other people out there that have reported that they're going to ask for Dylan and Steph, which I wouldn't do. I would almost be willing, personally, I'd almost be willing to give up De'Aaron Fox instead of Steph or Dylan.
Really?
Yeah, personally.
See,
I would.
I would not do that either. Because I think, can you imagine De'Aaron Fox with not only Victor
And Giannis.
but Giannis?
God.
Yeah, dude, I don't know.
But
That's what's so fun about this time of year, right? We can spitball this until the day we die, and it's super fun. To me, I don't know what those first round picks look like. I don't know if the Spurs value 5 picks like they value maybe 3 picks.
Well, it also depends on which picks. Like, they would rather give up their own than give up Atlanta's.
Yes.
So, but here's the thing. For all the Spurs fans out there listening, 5% chance is what I'm going to give this actually happening. With Giannis coming to San Antonio this year. They're not going to do it. Because if you've heard everything that they've said, and if you've read in between the lines, they want to be Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
And what does Oklahoma City have? Not a superstar, not a superstar brought in. They have a superstar, obviously, in SGA, who is the MVP and just got the biggest deal in NBA history almost.
Well, they traded for him.
They traded him for him
Right.
a year after he was drafted.
Right.
So it's not like they traded for SGA right now
Right.
as SGA.
He wasn't
SGA yet.
when they got him. Right.
The Spurs want to have a 10 deep, 12 deep roster that can defend anybody, to defend any scheme, run any offense, and be the most versatile and deep team in the league. And that's what they're on the road to. They're not going to make a move for a Kevin Durant, obviously, or a Giannis Antetokounmpo, or somebody who hampers the ability to be versatile. And so they're just not going to do these trades. It's fun to talk about because I would love to see Giannis in a Spurs uniform next to Victor, next to De'Aaron Fox, next to Steph Castle, maybe without Dylan Harper and without Carter Bryant, because you're going to have to give something up for him. So I would love to see it, but it's just something that they're not going to do. And it sucks that they're not going to do it sometimes because they have so much ammunition. Again,
because you don't know what's going to happen with Milwaukee, right? Like, what if all of a sudden the asking price isn't all those draft picks? It's a salary dump, and you're trying to get back, if you're Milwaukee, as much as you can. We don't know what this is going to look like as it plays out. And then to further the point, we don't know that then Milwaukee jumps in. I mean, New York jumps in, or another team, and actually has more assets. Again, we just don't know what this is going to look like. But the Spurs, to their credit, we've said it once, we'll say it a million times, they've given themselves multiple options to sit back. They can play the long game, or if Giannis falls into their lap, similar to what De'Aaron Fox did, then by golly, maybe you will have a move.
What's Giannis's contract status?
He makes 50-something million a year.
Yeah, but how much longer?
I think 2 more years left.
That's what I'm looking at
So,
real quick.
he's not going to kill you in that regard.
I mean, it's not going to be fun to have that plus De'Aaron Fox plus Wemby on your team. I mean, that's $175 million right there.
Well,
either way,
it's fun to talk
it's
about.
pie in the sky until it actually happens.
Right.
But it would be more likely instead of this offseason that the Bucks trade him mid-season, and the Spurs might be more willing to do it mid-season before the All-Star break like they did with De'Aaron Fox, because at least at that point you've seen Dylan Harper on the floor, you've seen Steph Castle on the floor, you've seen De'Aaron Fox, and you've seen Wemby, and kind of how those pieces might seem to mesh together. So at least to give them a little bit of a runway to develop some rapport, I guess.
Yeah, I'm with you. Ultimately, probably not going to happen, but it sure is fun to spitball.
It is. Let's get to the Summer League stuff here just for a second. Dylan Harper ruled out of the California Summer League with a minor groin strain. I saw on social media when that happened on I think it was Tuesday when that came out, when we went there for sound and all that stuff. You would have thought that he got his leg amputated, man, from Spurs fans on social media. You would have thought that Dylan Harper's career was over because they were pissed. They were like, "Are you serious? We drafted somebody who's already hurt." Like, and I get it, but
because it's on brand, right?
Yeah, well. I mean, like Aaron Rodgers said best, RELAX.
Right.
Relax. It's the Summer League.
No, I know.
They did the same thing with Victor didn't play in California, and then he ended up playing in Vegas.
But it's load management in a 19-year-old, so you can understand.
It's not a load management. If you're hurt, you're hurt.
Of course, but did you see the video of him working out on the side? It looked like that coach was going at him pretty hard.
But it's pretty different than an
question.
actual NBA game
There's
where
no
you're
question.
cutting
Look,
and going
I'm not
everywhere.
saying that they should run the guy out there if there's anything going on this summer. But if you got the number 2 pick in the draft, I think ultimately fans want to see what the guy looks like against other summer campers, at least at this point.
Yeah, but Summer League isn't for Dylan Harper, and it's not for Carter Bryant. It's for
it'll be for Carter Bryant, bro.
It might be for Carter Bryant, but it's for those last 2 roster spots. It's for guys like Harrison Ingram, for Riley Minix, for Duke Johnson Jr. or whatever his name is, Duke Davis Jr. To make those last 2 roster spots. I think that's the holdup with those last 2 spots in free agency is we need to see exactly who might be on the roster and who's going to Austin. So I get why there was a lot of my pearls on Tuesday by Spurs fans, but like Steph Castle didn't play a lot in Summer League. Wemby didn't play a lot in Summer League. I think Wemby played 2 games in Vegas, and that was all he played. Steph Castle only played a couple of games. Like, it's not the end of the world that if Dylan Harper doesn't play. What's important is that Dylan Harper is healthy come September when camp starts before the season. And because he needs to get adjusted to the NBA speed. He's got to get adjusted to playing with his teammates and Wemby, and it's because it's a different game. He didn't have those guys at Rutgers. He didn't have those guys in high school. He is no longer.
It is a different. Even Summer League's a different. It'll be a different game.
Yeah,
man.
He's no longer the big fish. He's the small fish. He might be the 6th best player on this team right now. Maybe he develops into the 2nd or 1st best player on the team. We don't know that, but he's probably the 6th best player on this team, and he's got to learn how to be the 6th best player on the team. And so it's important that he's healthy when it gets to September and October. And when the season starts. But right now, I mean, guys, it's Summer League.
Right. And not only that, these guys just came off a grueling college season, right?
Yeah.
And then you've been working out all summer and you're going to combines and you're doing all that stuff. Yeah, the rest on a 19-year-old too, allow the young man to grow and develop a little bit is not a bad idea either.
Exactly. And so Carter Bryant will be playing. There's some other guys that might make the roster. Riley Minix is going to be playing as well when they get to Vegas. There's some people holding out hope that he can be that kind of knockdown shooter for the Spurs. But I really loved what Carter Bryant said on Tuesday about his defense and how he's going to shave out his niche on this roster and how basically his path to playing time. So let's hear that.
One thing I just want to bring is the physicality. to the defensive side of the ball, being able to guard multiple positions, know guys' tendencies, being able to keep them in front of me, guard multiple actions and make multiple efforts, I think is a big thing for me because, like, everybody wants to score the ball, but, like, how do I separate myself? How do I get those early minutes? How do I find myself on the floor? So I think defense in terms of that is just something I could do to get on the floor.
If you covered him up, distorted the voice, and just told me the word or just showed me a transcript of the words, I would think that was Lou Dort saying that.
I would think that it was Greg Popovich saying
Yeah,
that.
same kind of mindset, right?
Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do to get on the floor.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to be a 20-point, 25-point a game scorer, you got plenty of those on this team that can go do that between Fox and Steph and Wemby and everybody. He knows that to get on the court, you got to play really good defense and you got to make some threes.
I like them kind of throwing out some grandiose things too, talking about he could be the guy that takes the other team's best scorer and guards him every moment of the game. I mean, so they obviously see something there, and if that's what his base is, then you can work on the other things too. But yeah, this is the football equivalent of special team, right? You're trying to make a ball club. If you can play special teams, you've got a pretty good chance of making the team if you can show anything else on either side of the ball.
Exactly. And if Carter Bryant's the guy, the Alex Caruso, the Lou Dort, the guy that will put his life on the line for a loose ball and dive into the stands and do whatever he can to be the effort dude, the dog mentality that he keeps talking about, that kind of pest on defense, I love it because they need that guy. They don't have that guy. Steph Castle is a very good defender.
Yeah.
But they don't have that kind of lockdown, I'm going to take that guy out of the game.
I think Jeremy has some of that in him too, and he shows flashes of it. But yeah, I mean, you can't have too many guys like that got and Keldon too. You got little JYD in him.
But if he does that, he instantly puts his name into the rotation. If he is able to knock down threes at a consistent rate, at a 35-40% rate, and play good defense, good, solid defense, he locks himself into 15, 20 minutes a game in the big club.
And shares the ball.
That keeps your name out of Austin. You know, that keeps you in San Antonio and not with the Austin Spurs if you're able to do that kind of stuff. And so I am excited come Summer League this weekend and next week to see him do that. Because
I am too.
I watched him a little bit at Arizona, but as an Arizona State guy, I tried to keep Arizona off of my screen. So I didn't watch that much of him. But he is a good defender. And so I'm excited to see that. Anything else you're excited to see in Summer League before we get out of here?
I'm curious, they bring guys in, veteran guys, and you look at some tape, like Dexter Dennis is a prime example, right? This is a kid that played, I say kid, he's like 25 or 26 now, but, he played at Wichita State. He was an all-conference, all-defensive player. This guy looks like he can shoot. He transferred to A&M, and last year I think he played in the Kings for their G League team. But this guy looks like he's got a good feel for the game. He's a decent defender. He's a decent shooter. I mean, these are the kind of guys, you never know, especially when you have a young roster like the Spurs, that somebody's going to catch their eye or make an impression on them. And I'm wondering if he's going to be one of those guys. Again, we all watch cut-ups. The sad part about cut-ups is that if you watch a 48-minute game and you're watching 5 minutes of tape, that means, how much are you actually seeing of the guy when it's not on tape? So, I think that's the fun part about this time of year, because all these guys were really good in college. All these guys were really probably great in college. And then, what are they doing? Why have they knocked around? Is it just haven't had an opportunity, or, you were on a loaded team? You were on a team with a younger roster that already had a bunch of draft picks on it? That's why this is always a fun time of year for me.
Spurs fans, there's three guys you need to watch on the Summer League roster, besides Dylan Harper, obviously. Carter Bryant, Riley Minix, and Harrison Ingram. Those are the three guys vying for those last two spots, basically. Actually, Carter's going to make the roster most likely, but those two guys, Riley and Harrison, are both vying for a roster spot. And so I would love to see either of them kind of take the Summer League by storm and win that roster spot and be on the big club come
guys with contracts have a unfair advantage at this point of the season.
But you never know. You never know with Summer League.
You never know.
Someone might pop off and get themselves a roster spot in the contract. So you never know.
I mean, Riley Minix, we didn't know him last year until he kicked ass in Summer League.
I've said Riley Minix's name more on this podcast than I have Julian Champagny, who has a contract and is on the roster, which Sorry to Julian. I keep forgetting about that he's on this 13-man roster that I am kind of putting together for the Spurs here. So anyway, that's all we got for you today on the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. Remember, download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. We will be back on Monday, and by then we will actually have Summer League game footage to talk about. So happy that's going to be here, and we will see you then.